Welcome to Fear Coded, a podcast where we talk about media from the horror genre and take a queer reading of a single book, video game, film, podcast, or TV show to explore just how queer horror can be. In this episode, it's terror time again as we continue Furry February, our month-long marathon of animals and horror. Today we're joining the Scooby Gang as they venture down to the bayou in 1998's Scooby Doo on Zombie Island, directed by Jim Stenstrom from a screenplay by Glenn Leopold. I'm Tyler.
I'm David.
I'm Marilee.
And I'm Amanda.
Amanda!
That's right. This mystery was too big to solve alone, so we brought Amanda along for help. Amanda, welcome to Fear Coded. Tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, I went to grad school with Tyler, so that's how I got looped up with this fabulous team. I am typically known as a self-proclaimed Scooby expert, so I have seen almost every piece of Scooby media many, many, many times. So I'm super excited to get to talk about it in a setting where people have also seen it.
Yeah.
This is thrilling, Amanda, because I have seen everything until the 80s, and this is my first time venturing to Zombie Island. So I'm
good.
in good with you.
This is my return to Zombie Island, which is not to be confused with the sequel Return to Zombie Island.
Right.
But instead is the first time I've watched Scooby Doo on Zombie Island since I was maybe like 10 or 11. But Amanda is, as she said, the foremost Scooby expert in my life. Amanda, tell us a little bit more about like Scooby Doo and podcasting. I know our grad school group has been itching for this opportunity for you.
I think you mean bullying me to podcast.
Wow.
It has been long demanded, so I'm pretty excited, honestly, to kind of get my toes wet into the podcasting and see, can I handle this? How much Scooby could I rant into a microphone?
And do we have high stakes? Is this like a be careful tall vampire situation? Because if today goes well, would you like cover every Scooby animated series ever on a podcast? Is that open for you? Do it. You should do it.
I
should
have
do
not been
it.
able to find a good one, and I feel like I have to make the only good one.
Yes! Oh my god, yes!
Yes.
Love
Yes!
Scooby Doo, and they keep making more Scooby Doo. So this might be a task which never can be accomplished.
Which is
Good
my favorite
steady
kind of podcast.
Yeah. Amanda, is there anything specific about the Scooby story that has driven you to become sort of a super fan of this is not a genre, but the story of Scooby and the gang?
I don't really know what got me started. My dad watched the original series when I was a kid, so naturally I watched the original series, so it's almost cozy and nostalgic for me now. And then it was only like 10 years ago I started watching everything else, because we're going on like 5 decades of Scooby content, and
There's
there's
a
some
lot.
weird
There's a
stuff.
lot.
Yeah, there's some swings, right?
Yeah.
This is again, I stopped at some point in time, but at least when I was a child, like the gang was meeting up with the Harlem Globetrotters. They were they had guest stars on a frequent basis. It was a pretty wild thing. They met the Addams family at one point in time.
Mhm.
That was a wild adventure.
Yes. They're not all winners, but it's all fun. There are just some straight up bad series out there.
Yeah. A lot of criticism about some of the recent stuff, but just for this conversation, I watched an episode of that Velma show, and I had an okay time with it.
It was a letdown. I quit after season 1, but the art was gorgeous. I loved how it looked, and I really liked that they were making them different and adults, but it just didn't feel like they kept the heart of each character. So it's hard to want to keep going.
Yeah, from what I remember, because I also watched an episode, but I did keep an eye on the conversation, because I also love Scooby-Doo a lot. From what I remember, somebody was talking about how it seemed like the writers felt like they were too good for Scooby-Doo, but all of the animators loved Scooby-Doo and were so excited to be working on a Scooby-Doo project. And so like that was kind of where a lot of people felt like there was a disconnect.
That is such a good way of summarizing it. That's really spot on.
I did not say it. I'm stealing it directly from somebody on Twitter that I do not remember who they were.
Well, now
apologies.
it's a desolate hellscape, so you can't even find that original tweet, Melly.
Yeah. So if you know who you are, thank you for your words. I'm sorry I stole them.
Well, before we go on with this conversation and also eat an ill-advised amount of chili peppers, in a landscape of horrors that our real world has to offer, what is making y'all scared or what's making you feel prepared? Amanda, please begin. Start us off. Are you feeling prepared or are you feeling scared?
Can I be both?
You can.
It has been a very weird past year, couple months. I'm tired and would like to hibernate like a bear. And apparently that's not allowed when you have a normal job.
Yeah.
That's such the dream. Hibernation.
Right.
I would also like to co-sign that.
Just hoard snacks in my bed. Don't talk to me for 3 months.
In fact, it makes me think, like, sometimes when I would work on campus and I had access to friends who were faculty, they would take sabbatical and they would do like these cool research projects. I think if I had the chance to not work for 3 months, I would just sleep for 3 months.
They would not be 3 productive months.
No. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? My goodness.
So what makes you feel prepared if you're both? Like, I get the scared, the hibernation did into it, but both. What's the light on this horizon?
I am settling into a job I started this year. I'm feeling better about work. I saw the sun this morning, so that's a big hit in winter.
Yeah.
So
I love that for
makes
you.
a big difference. As you know, we're on the other side of the solstice, right, Marilee? That's the solstice?
No.
Not yet.
No.
Damn it.
Oh, wait. Yes, we are.
No, hold on. When is this premiering again? It's
February.
Yeah, okay. Listen, just because it's in February doesn't mean that it's past the solstice. I think
I'm getting, you know what, Marilee? I think you and I are getting like the solstice and the equinox confused because the solstice happened in December, and now it's February.
Tomorrow.
So yes, we are.
Yeah, we're like
It's all
talking about
staying it.
spring.
This is all staying it.
It's also time is an abstract concept. It's an illusion, and I don't believe in it anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, now that the days are slowly getting longer, it is so fantastic to just see that little ball of burning gas come up across the horizon for just a little bit longer. You know, I'm a farmer, so I like to wake and go to bed with the sun, and that has been very difficult to break my brain of because I need to actually be active after like 4:30 p.m.
Nope, that's bedtime.
Wish that it were so.
The dream.
For sure. Marilee, are you feeling prepared or scared?
You know, I am also both. Because I feel uniquely prepared for this, our furry February recording, because we are dog sitting my sister's 2 dogs.
Wow.
So there are 2 dogs and 2 cats in the house right now. I'm so furry. There's hair everywhere. But I'm also very scared that they're gonna start barking at some point and ruin the recording. So if that happens, I do apologize.
I never get this. People are like, oh no, you can hear my animal. It's ruining the recording. Who does not want to hear an animal? Like, wouldn't that just make it better, Marilee?
I personally don't love the sound of dogs randomly every now and like very loud barking. So I can't imagine that someone would also like that while listening to a podcast for enjoyment, I suppose.
I don't know. So just a
Furry
little
February. It's on brand.
It's true. I guess then I will take back that scared. We're just very, very prepared for animal noises.
There we go.
Bring on some animals. Bring them on. Woof, woof. Meow, meow. Here we go. Party now.
Oh no, I just remembered our X-Files episode and we were talking about meowing the X-Files theme.
Don't think when I was making Coco earlier, I did not meow the Scooby Doo theme because I
don't want to overstate it, but it changes you forever meowing theme songs.
And
the irony of meowing the Scooby Doo theme song, though.
I don't think it's irony for this episode because cats. Cats
galore.
Tyler, what about you? Oh, I'll go. Yeah, I'll go. For me, I am feeling prepared. I think really in line with today's topic of conversation is a very musical episode because of all of the fun songs in Scooby Doo on Zombie Island. But we are going to go see a musical here at Teatro Valencia, which I've been asking to do. But, they're in Spanish, so it's hard to get the household on board. But we are going to see La Bella y la Bestia, which is, I'm sure that you could translate, Beauty and the Beast.
Ooh.
It's a tale as old as time. It's a song as old as rhyme. And when we lived in Texas and I had a much more, I don't know that I would ever say that it was a 9-to-5 job, but a little bit closer to those hours, I did a lot of work in community theater. And one of the shows that I helped stage manage was Beauty and the Beast. So even if I don't know every word that's being said, I have seen this show 60 to 80 times. So I don't necessarily need to know the script because it lives in my brain.
David, your life is a rich tapestry.
Tyler, fun fact, the guy who played the Beast, my friend Tyler, now lives in Madrid and does theater all across Europe.
Wow.
He is not the Beast in this performance.
Oh. Now, is this like their own take on the original Beauty and the Beast story, or is this like Disney but it's in Spanish?
It is the Disney book and soundtrack. I mean, it is. There was a stage Disney approved version of Beauty and the Beast with many of the songs that you know from the film, with additional songs that are some of them real bangers. And they are performed, and then everything is done on stage with practical effects, including that sweet, sweet Beast detransformation, I think we can call it. I don't think anyone on this call is interested in less Beast, more human, but that is the story, and thus it happens.
Very appropriate for today's episode as well.
Right. It's sort of an inverse of today's story.
Exactly.
While that, Tyler, was not exactly like... We were good friends, but we were never like romantically interested in each other, mostly because he was 100 pounds of human stretched across like 6'5". But boy, when he took off all that Beast gear and got up off of that smoke machine haze that we surrounded him in, and he would just blow out this stream of smoke and then reveal himself as the prince. That was pretty hot. That's pretty hot. I can't be held responsible for my behaviors when a smoke machine is involved.
That's so valid. That's so real.
Yeah.
So true.
So I look forward to learning all these songs in Spanish because nothing will be in English. Not a thing. Tyler, wrap us up. Bring us home. Are you a fourth prepared or at least both C's? Or are you going to throw us for a loop?
I'm going to throw y'all for a loop.
No, combo breaker again.
Loop.
Combo breaker. No, it's February. I'm very afraid. I'm very, very afraid. I'm moving in a couple months.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I will be joining Amanda in a place where the sun only comes out to say hello every couple days.
But it's so exciting.
And it's so exciting. Maybe I'll learn to appreciate the sun a bit more as opposed to the hellscape of the Sunshine State. Yeah, no, I'm freaking out. I've got books to get rid of. I've got stuff that I have to box up. I'm kind of in that mode of just like, I'm looking at everything around the apartment and just thinking like, what do I not need? Mm-hmm. What can I pawn off on people or give away or give to charity or toss? And like, now it's kind of like the opposite of a cartoon character that's really hungry seeing someone and they look like a turkey leg. Mm-hmm. But instead, it's just like, I see the item there, and then it like dissolves, and then there's just like empty space where it once was, and it's just like, yes, fewer things to pack.
Yeah.
This is my dream.
Yeah. Wow. That's... How long have you been in your current place?
So I want to say maybe like 2.5 years.
Right. That's so much stuff that just accumulates.
Well, it is.
It is
like a nest.
Yes, it is very nest-like. I'm looking around right now, and I'm just like, yep, there's some twigs, some leaves.
Those feel easy to not bring with you to your new but don't let me tell you how to do your job. I don't know. Amanda, do they have leaves and twigs where you are?
Way better than Florida quality. Get new ones.
See?
I'll just get new ones then.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Good Lord, Tyler. Wow, that is, I kind of forgot that it's coming up, but it's like the sword of Damocles. You can't stop it. It's there.
It is constantly hovering over my head.
Wow. God, I wish I had a better segue. Get us into Scooby.
You know who else has a lot of tree branches and leaves is the Moonscar Island that we focus on in today's episode.
You know what? I'm gonna give it a B- because it was solid work. It was solid work.
It's a passing grade. I'll take it.
There, you showed your work, and you know what? Partial credit. Today we are talking about 1998's Scooby Doo on Zombie Island. The Scooby Doo franchise has been around since 1969, when the original animated series Scooby Doo, Where Are You? First premiered. The Scooby Doo series is a much beloved property in American culture, but to anyone who's unfamiliar, Scooby Doo features a gang of usually 4 teenagers, Daphne, Fred, Velma, and Shaggy, and their Great Dane, the titular Scooby-Doo, who travel across the country solving mysteries. While most mysteries seem supernatural, they tend to have a very mundane explanation in the final movement of an episode. A person in a monster costume is the true villain. However, starting in the 1980s, more Scooby-Doo stories had supernatural elements. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island is one such story.
The film tells the story of the Scooby Gang going their separate ways after growing bored from too many mysteries, ending with some evil capitalists complaining about meddling kids and their dog. However, the gang quickly reunite to help Daphne document real evidence of the supernatural. Their journey leads them to Moonscar Island in a New Orleans bayou, where they discover far more supernatural shenanigans than they expected.
Scooby Doo on Zombie Island was released directly to video, but it proved to be a big financial and critical success. The marketing, in particular, was robust. Companies like Wendy's, Lego, and NASCAR got involved. Commercials aired constantly on Cartoon Network. Furthermore, the movie's success led to 2 sequels, Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, and Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders. What's everyone's relationship with Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island and Scooby-Doo in general? Amanda, let's start with you.
This is my favorite Scooby movie. It is closely followed by Witch's Ghost, but I've always loved Zombie Island, even though it terrified my sister when we were kids.
Really? This really got her?
This one, it baffles me, but honestly, watching it now, I'm like, this is really dark for a child.
That's
there are
fair.
a lot of dead bodies in this, like legit dead bodies.
Yeah.
And so, Amanda, not to make a lot of assumptions about you and your sister, but does that mean you watched this as children, or is your sister just really afraid of things?
Both.
Okay.
We were children at the time, but she's also a big baby.
Okay. Fair enough. So, like, did you see these commercials and like, Mom, we've got to get this, or?
I have absolutely no memory of any commercials, but I do remember like every preview on the VHS ahead of the movie playing.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Coming soon to own on video.
I think there was like a Space Ghost Coast to Coast episode that also had like Shaggy and Scooby on doing like some cross promo.
I believe it.
Okay, Tyler, what about you? What is your general Scooby-Doo background, and then also like the Zombie Island of it all?
Yeah, so like kind of like Amanda, like I grew up watching Scooby-Doo. It was constantly on Cartoon Network in the early 90s. My family was watching it, so I would end up watching it. And then of course, like because my parents and my grandparents would see me watching these episodes from the 60s and 70s, that was when they were kids, or my grandparents were watching my parents watch Scooby-Doo as children. And so they like were always encouraging me to watch. They loved Scooby. They loved all of the shenanigans. So I grew up having like a real fondness for Scooby-Doo. I think that kind of went away a bit when I was like hitting my teenage years. And I didn't really get back into it, honestly, until I got to know Amanda. So I really have Amanda to thank for getting me back into my Scooby era.
I love
and
that.
giving me so much priceless advice for all the different Scooby-Doo series, especially Amanda, what's Mystery Incorporated?
Mystery Inc. 10 out of 10.
Mystery Inc. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a very good one.
I think
Marilee, what about you?
I love Scooby Doo. I've always loved Scooby Doo. I loved it so much that I didn't realize that was like not a normal part of like your childhood experience. So when I would list like my favorite cartoons, I never really talked about Scooby Doo because obviously that comes for free with your American childhood. Like that's not. I watched Scooby Doo Where Are You all the time. I watched all the Red Shirt Shaggy movies. Like it was a huge deal for me. This movie in particular, I remember, like, I don't think I ever rented it on VHS, but I remember distinctly when it premiered on the Cartoon Network. I remember watching all of the advertisements for it and being so excited. And I'm on the record as a Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island enjoyer. I think that this is a great movie, and I liked it a lot.
That's fun. This was my first experience with this film. I had never seen it before. I stopped watching Scooby-Doo in the mid-'80s. I don't remember what series. Nothing took me off. I think we just stopped making Scooby stuff for a little while. But then when Cartoon Network started up, it was just pretty much heapful of like cartoons that they could buy licensure for. And one of them was some of those Scooby-Doo guest spots. Every once in a while we get a Where Are You? 13 Ghosts would air on there. And that just appeared sort of in what I couldn't understand to be any type of actual programming in the early age of Cartoon Network. It was just shovel whatever we've got into these tape decks, get them playing, let's go. And so I got exposed to a lot of Scooby-Doo. I rented a fair few compilations on VHS when I was a kid. That was something that we had at Family Video, so we would just pick a couple of those up and we would watch. I think there were like 2 per tape. Like it was actually like very, very sad to think about like the effort of putting in a tape to watch what would have been like 40 minutes of a cartoon. It feels insane to me when I remember being an adult and being like, ugh, I just couldn't possibly put in another Buffy DVD because like it's just so much effort for like, 4 episodes of a 40-minute show. How the times have changed. Now I can't possibly log into Netflix where everything has ever been recorded ever. I just don't have the energy to push this button. That being said, I think that the excitement in my life around this film gave me a very, very high bar. And there were some times that Zombie Island didn't quite clear the incredibly high expectations that the world had given me, to the point that I did text Tyler and said, am I watching the right thing? And we'll talk about that as we get into it. A lot of it has to do with that I grew up with very specific voice actors, and only having Frank Welker is a little difficult for me. And I recognize that that's a me thing.
No, I get it.
I'm glad that you are comfortable enough to be vulnerable and open to criticism, David.
I didn't look at Amanda while I shared all of that. I am afraid of yeah.
There were probably
there was some judging that happened, but
you know what? And I accept that and lean into it. I'm excited that we have like kind of both sides of it, and I love having a new experience with this. Now I've watched it 4 times now to get ready for the pod, and it's an easy thing to throw on in the background while playing more and more Balatro, a game that just absolutely dominates my life. It's just truly and honestly
understandable.
Yeah, we talked about it last week, but I'll keep talking about it again and again and again. That being said, I think that on a reviewing, I found more things to appreciate. So I don't think I was dealing with impossible to meet expectations. Like our friends Derek and Doug have covered this, claim that it is the best thing that mankind has ever made.
I don't know that they said those exact words.
The entire point of civilization was to create Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I think were the exact word. No, just kidding. But I'm really excited to get into it and share the parts that bumped against me. And I wonder that if any of you with a critical adult eye might just tell me this is a movie for children, just be into it.
Well, speaking of reading too far into movies for children, let's talk about our monthly themes. So all furry February long, we're looking at horror stories that center on animals in horror. Today we have a couple that I think will definitely be of interest to our podcasting audience. First is that greed is the root of all evil. The Scooby Doo series has garnered an anti-capitalist following in recent years as people commiserate over the rampant greed and unfettered capitalism we are currently suffering through. The villains in the series are famous for trying to scare people for profit, but in Zombie Island's case, the villains are trying to absorb the life energy out of people to continue to live. Notably, Scooby and Shaggy's behavior is what ends up saving the day. So, I really liked this idea that greed is kind of like a constant theme in all of Scooby Doo. I think one of the reasons why it's gotten popular, like, with like anti-capitalist memes and stuff is because people have caught on to that idea, and the idea that like landowners that are trying to scare off people who could either share the land with them or rightfully owned the land as part of like a long-running heritage, or just, you know, it's a carnival that everyone should be able to enjoy, but someone has closed it for insurance money. I think that is something that a lot of us kind of expect like CEOs to be kind of cartoonishly evil at this point. And so I think, again, that's why it's become a lot more resonant. But I think also the themes in the show are universal enough. Just this idea that, you know, people who hoard too much without sharing at all. I think that's one of the things that no matter what political side of the aisle you're on, I think everyone kind of agrees. It's just we disagree on who is the, you know, the people that hoard. And which is why Scooby-Doo continues to be kind of universally loved. And like, as Merrily joked, like, you know, you love Scooby-Doo just like as a default when you become an American citizen. So that's something that I thought that was relevant here. What do you all think about this theme?
As someone who recently bought a house, it was super relatable to want to hunt the land to make it cheaper to buy. So that was a weird tangent I didn't expect in my life.
When are we scheduling the inspection? Because I just need to grab a couple kids from Craigslist to
just real quick. I need a monster costume.
Yeah,
drive this price down. Yeah. So that's not where I thought life was going, but here we are.
We're still interested, but could you please play the closing costs? Thank you, because there's a ghost. So I think that's reasonable for me to ask.
It's an astronaut ghost. I don't know what they're doing here, but nevertheless.
You know what? I will say Astronaut Ghost is the sort of thing that this series would do, and I love
it has done.
I love when they just like seem to have two wheels and they're like, spin both wheels. That's the monster this week.
My favorite part of the original series is everything had to be a ghost. There was a space ghost. There was a werewolf ghost. Werewolf, not good enough. Had to be the ghost of a werewolf.
Yep.
Unnecessary and delightful.
So good. So good.
It's very fun. Though, again, I don't think every time, because, you know, there was like the robot and the Iceman and the Knight weren't ghosts. Well, the Knight could have been a ghost.
I think the Knight was kind of a ghost.
I think the Knight was a ghost. You're right.
No robot
and really,
ghost,
really, when it comes to capitalism, isn't it always ghostly? Like, isn't it just ghastly?
Yeah. God, I can't believe that you said that, because I had forgotten that I had made jokes with my sister about, like, haunting a house in the neighborhood so that she could buy it. We were going to Scooby-Doo it. I had forgotten about that.
I see why this happens so often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe the cartoon is actually instructing us how to lower property values as opposed to demonizing the people who do it.
No, because then Chip and Joanna Gaines are still going to show up and they're going to be like, it's fine, there's a ghost, but we'll put up some shiplap and you'll be fine. Like, who cares?
Honestly, I would be. I wish more people would do a Scooby-Doo kind of like scam, because most of the time when CEOs are being greedy or like there's a land thing, it's just all boring. No one even bothers to put a costume on even one time.
Yeah.
Where are we as a society when we can't just put CEOs in spooky costumes and run away from them through doors that are not connected at all? Well, our next theme to consider, as Merrily completely falls apart, is that animals are people too. Scooby Doo is an anthropomorphic Great Dane, meaning he has human characteristics, like his ability to communicate with humans. Multiple times in the movie, people try to dismiss Scooby as a dog, to which Scooby always replies, "Rog? Where?"
Pretty good.
Pretty good? Okay.
Pretty good.
Notably, Scooby is usually the one to discover the truth before any other humans, except maybe for Shaggy, who's practically a dog anyway. What if, hear me out, y'all, Scooby is a trickster figure
Oh my god.
who can see the truth no one else can? Like this sort of liminal space that he inhabits where he is not fully human and not fully dog. Am I reading too far into a cartoon intended for children? That's what podcasting is all about, baby.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't know that I can give you like Norse trickster god. I think that's a bridge too far, Tyler. It's a bridge too far.
Hey, trickster gods are just like, or trickster figures are just like a thing in literature. Amanda and I had to learn all about it in grad school. Shout out to Professor Sugimori for that one. Yeah, I'm just saying words.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You are just saying words. They have no meaning or portent. They are not.
Well, let's throttle back then from my crazy ideas that are just from too much time spent watching Scooby Doo, and instead think a little bit more about like why is it that Scooby and Shaggy and these kids are able to, uncover the truth that no one else can? Because it seems that like anytime someone tries to, dig further into the mystery or try to find out more, they always come up short. But Mystery Inc. is always there to solve the day. And Scooby in particular seems to be the one who leads the charge, even if he doesn't really intend to, since he's a big coward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that the team works in a very like 5-man band kind of way. I think you are getting all of the necessary components delivered by this sort of quintet of teens and dog. And I think that's what ends up working. And I think sometimes Shaggy and Scooby they may as well be the same character, just like two sides of a coin. And I think that both with Shaggy being part dog and Scooby being part human, it actually really works to lower the stakes when they are both in danger, because they are such comic relief. Like, I think if you showed me a television program where a dog was actually in danger of harm and it wasn't a goofy dog, I would be icked a little bit. Like, I don't think I would be into that, right? That would be a totally different experience.
That's fair. Yeah, I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unless it was Lassie, like Lassie.
Oh my god, I can't believe it. We have another Lassie event here on this podcast. I did not expect this to happen.
You know what? You should fall down the well, Lassie.
Wow.
I don't like Lassie. I don't know what to tell you. Amanda, save us from Lassie talk. What's your read on the Scooby as a human of it all?
First of all, Tyler's not totally insane. Mystery Inc. kind of ends revealing that Scooby is a little bit of a demigod. So
yeah, it's a wild show, David.
But
that's intense. What an intense choice.
Yeah. I did think it was very suspicious this watch through that Mystery Inc. showed up and in maybe 6 hours, the course of dinner, unraveled a 200-year-old mystery, while a literal cop was on the island fumbling around.
Well, that's about right.
Like, you got this close and could not figure out the only inhabitants of this island are maybe the murderers? Embarrassing.
I mean, he was looking for it. Just because he didn't, go the extra mile of falling down the hole himself doesn't mean that he wasn't looking.
Yeah.
I think that it's really interesting the way that you put it specifically about how, like, they're the ones to always, like, nobody else is looking. Do we ever, like, get evidence of that? Because I'm trying to, like, look back, and it seems like anytime someone is, like, investigating the mystery, from what I can recall, they're also in on it. So, like, are these just, like, the only curious people in the world who are the ones exploring around trying to find answers at all?
Amanda, I'm going to throw that one to you as our resident Scooby expert.
I feel like literally everyone else who doesn't run away from the monster is probably in cahoots with the monster.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Interesting.
So like it's a population of there's like this giant crayfish monster at this canning factory, but that's none of my business.
I still have to go to work tomorrow. Like, okay.
I do think like a separate sleuthing team who's like constantly dogging the heels of Scooby and the gang would be kind of a fun thing to introduce. I'm surprised that the series hasn't done that.
I mean, there have been
Actually,
a couple
Amanda
attempts of like not like a full team, but like there was in the 90s Scooby Doo show, there was like a Nega Velma specifically.
I thought there was like the Bizarro Scooby as well. Like, wasn't he like a gray?
Oh, that's his
dog?
cousin.
Scooby Dumb? Oh, he is not that competent.
No.
Oh,
A treasure, but not very good at mysteries.
Yeah.
No.
No, I want like a competent challenge for Mystery Inc.
I would love that, genuinely.
There
to
is
what
a
end?
little
But
bit in Be Cool Scooby Doo.
okay.
Oh,
It's
that's the
in,
one
like,
that I
the
haven't. I didn't like the art
two-part
style of that one,
It's
so I didn't
really,
watch it.
really good. Give it a couple episodes. It's one of my favorites.
Well, listen, I have the expert's recommendation. I simply must watch it now.
But yeah, there is like Fred's childhood friend starts a competing mystery solving business, but she charges people money, and he's just running around ruining her business.
That's great. This is like the Angel spinoff from Buffy. I love it. I love it. You should charge people money. I do think that that's all very fascinating. I kind of wish that I would have revealed earlier that I had no idea really anything that came after this, because we could have played a game where you all listed series and I guessed whether you were just making up words or if it was an actual series, because Stay Cool Scooby Doo, I would have voted no and would have been wrong.
Be Cool Scooby Doo is the name of it, so
be
You're already
cool.
losing.
Well, then you know what? There's your pitch. Whoever owns the rights to Scooby Doo, Stay Cool Scooby Doo.
If we end up covering like Scooby Doo and the Witch's Ghost, which I feel like we have to because of the Hex Girls, we'll do that, David.
Okay, great. Then I will never do any more research. Hey, here's the deal. Scooby Doo, maybe not the scariest thing. So let's evaluate this franchise and this episode, or sorry, this film in particular. As is this part of the horror genre. Zombie Island is notably a darker film that utilizes some potentially frightful images for children. Do you all think that this fits in as a horror entry?
I like to start this because I think kids horror is like a topic that's actually pretty close to my heart.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really like when I was a kid, I love ooky spooky stuff. Like I love Scooby Doo and like lots of other, like Halloween has always been my favorite holiday. So I think things like Scooby Doo that have kind of a scarier theme but aren't as scary per se, aren't just necessary but are vital to horror, because it's a great way for people to like dip your toes into something that's a little scary, but not going to be too much for a child, so that like they can really experience this without having something so terrifying you'll have nightmares about. You know what I mean? So I think that it's vitally important, A, and B, this one definitely does count as horror because this movie in particular is a little scary for kids. I like to watch Scooby Doo with my niece. It's one of her favorite things for us to do together. And this one we were about halfway through and she was like, "Auntie, this one's too much."
Okay. Amanda, has your sister recovered from the fear that she encountered with this film?
I will have to follow up. She is some kind of weirdo and not a big Scooby fan.
Okay. Oh, wow. So
might
this,
have to sit her down and make her watch again.
Diminished the brand. I just wondered if she was like, oh no, a work conference in New Orleans, the zombies are going to get me.
I don't
Some
think
immersion therapy.
Oh my God.
This is the only reason I'd want to go to New Orleans. Like, I know there are zero actual, like, sites from a cartoon movie from 20 years ago, but I'm still like, but they went there.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. You could take a boat through a bayou. It would not be this boat.
Close enough.
But you can never tell if the ferry boat captain is a werecat.
Yeah,
until
that's
it's too
just
late.
like a common hazard, I fear.
Yeah.
Got to be out by sundown.
Fair enough.
For sure.
Fair enough.
I think that there's like enough tropes in Zombie Island that would fold this particular Scooby-Doo entry into the horror genre. I think otherwise the show typically uses like horror visuals or horror elements, but it tells like not a scary story. This, I think, is actually like good like kids horror. And like for me, I watched it when I was like 8 or 9 years old. I was kind of like the perfect target audience and like for the movie, and so I loved it, and I watched the VHS all the time. So yeah, I think this fits comfortably into horror. Amanda, what do you think?
I think yes. And I don't know, do we count the Most Dangerous Game story as horror? Because that's kind of what this movie is too.
That's fair.
I mean, I feel like that.
That's
yeah.
fair.
Like, you've
That's
lured
fair.
people to your island to then hunt them for sports, and you just do that every year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you're
pretty
right.
twisted.
Yeah.
That is pretty twisted. Wow. I didn't even consider the whole it's like a type of cannibalism almost that comes into all of this. That's a little that definitely has some like existential horror built right in.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure.
I think Tyler's right. I think that the tropes are there. I also think that the series itself does a very good job on creating visuals that are starkly memorable. And I think for a lot of people, a memorable image is more likely to trigger sort of an anxiety or fear response than sort of a generic image. So even when I think about some of the generic creatures that Scooby and the gang faced in the 70s, there still are pretty iconic designs. Like when when an illusion of a ghost appears in most of the series, it's a well-designed and creepy spectral image, which is why I think it tricks the kids. It's why it tricks you as the audience. It's why we're always looking for where the projector or hologram or whatever nonsense is. And I think that's uniquely effective for Scooby-Doo as I understand it. And I do think that when it comes to this type of animation style, which takes us all the way up here into the 90s, like we are still kind of in house style Scooby-Doo for this film. We have not evolved into, which certainly not digital animation. This is all still, cells with a little bit of computer work. It still is very evocative of that grainy, gritty feel that I think ties in. And the setting for Zombie Island is like the dark bayous of New Orleans, and that is also some pre-baked horror. There's a reason that a lot of gothic American horror is based in New Orleans.
Listener, as David was talking, all three of us were just like nodding along. Yep, correct. We're all agreeing. But you missed that because it's an audio podcast. So I just wanted to let you know that all of us were like, yeah, absolutely correct, David.
We're just all on the David train.
Yeah,
David could tell us that the sky has begun to be filled with birds and blot out the sun.
Wow.
And we would believe it.
I don't know that I would believe that. I would maybe believe that for David in Spain, but like genuinely I would know by now.
Spoiler alert for later this month, Tyler, because
Shit.
the furry just keeps on coming, and we'll talk about that then.
But listen, we have other things to discuss here now in this podcast space, because it's not enough to simply be a horror movie to get on this podcast. It must also be queer. So let's discuss this movie within the lens of queer theory.
Okay. Just hear me out. I do think that there is a lot of wonderful queerness in this film. And that maybe is what brought my appreciation level up on a rewatch. I think that the found family of the gang is a very effective queer metaphor for found family. I like everyone coming together for Daphne's birthday. I think that the story itself is a queer retelling of a pretty known trope that a lot of us go off and become different people. And then to go back to where we were, some of us have changed, even though we're coming back to things that are usual. And I think you get to see that with the way that the group interacts with things they used to interact with. Like the whole bit with the Scooby snacks, I thought was a really nice way of saying, like, even though we're back together and that's important for us, we've changed because we no longer are eating the Scooby snacks, mostly because they're expired. Same thing with the monsters. Like, the whole thing about monsters is that they aren't real. They're dudes in a mask. And when that changes, we can sort of introduce this idea of change and metamorphosis. And I think in particular, I'll be interested in the journey with all of you to track Fred and Daphne as queer designed characters for this film, because they are the ones who have different character models from what we are used to. And I really like that.
That's so beautiful. David,
I
you're
love
so
that,
smart.
David.
Here I was just going to make a joke, but no, you have like heartfelt analysis. Thank you.
You told me to be gayer, Marilee.
It's true. I did, and I meant it, and you were, and I appreciate that. Anyway, here's my dumb joke. Thank God the waiter finally brought us those evil lesbians we've been waiting since November.
That's right. That was our Hellraiser episode when Tyler requested the waiter bring us more evil lesbians.
And we've been waiting.
Slow to get here, but I will not reflect that in the tip because I believe in tipping waiters. But yeah, no, Marilee, I'm actually very much in agreement with you. I'm so happy that we have some evil lesbians. I think that this idea that they steal people away and drain their energy is so much fun, but I think it's also feeds into like this trope of what evil lesbians do to people, which is just like they're going to basically be kind of like vampires, but in this case they're werecats, and they're also the fact that they're werecats as opposed to werewolves. Women are kind of like the dominant figures in this story, and I think cats are more typically like culturally associated with femininity. So I think that's kind of fun. That also means that like what's going on with Jacques. Jacques is also a werecat, but he is very much afraid of death as his main motivation, as opposed to revenge, like Simona and Lena are pursuing. But you know, I think there's a lot of like kind of fun, interesting stuff that we've sort of stumbled our way into, very Scooby and Shaggy like. And so I'm really excited to see what else the story has to tell us, especially about Fred and Daphne and their whole dynamic, because I think, Amanda, you can totally correct me if I'm wrong here, but like, is this the first time where the Scooby series has sort of suggested that Fred and Daphne have some chemistry, but in this case they're like a little bit jealous of each other?
I think it is, and it plays in the next few movies after this too.
It is it's so funny, Tyler, because we will get to it in the sequence, but I did not read it as jealousy, and so I'm excited to talk it through.
Ooh, then I'm very excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, David, I looked through his notes and I was like, David's brain is like on another level, and I'm so excited to talk about this.
It is a gay
Well, he watched it 4 times.
I watched it so many times. It's so gay. Here's the other thing. The villains, I know that for a lot of people, the villains, one of 3 of them, whoever's your main cat tiger thing, was a furry awakening for many people, but I do love the entire idea around their villainry is that they once a month transform into something that others see as grotesque, and I must hide that from the world. That's a queer story, just on its face.
Yeah, again, werewolves are gay. I've been over this.
Werewolves are gay. But werecats, Marilee.
Are gayer.
Meow. They're gayer. Okay.
Or gayer.
Great. Well, we said let's make it gayer. Amanda, any other thoughts from you on whether or not this film is queer?
I thought about it. I think when Tyler was talking about how Jacques is also just like third wheeling werecat-like, he's not even ever at the house. Like, he's straight up out there in the woods, apparently lives on the boat, wherever he spends his time. Like, did he even need to be a werecat? Could you not just hire a ferry driver? Why is he even relevant? We've got 2 dynamite lady cat people, and then the old man.
I think there's some fun backstory with Jacques. I think you've got to think about Jacques being like, this motherfucker Beau took my room above the carriage house. That's where I used to live.
I like that idea a lot.
Yeah. Now they're going to turn him into their new little slave boy, and I used to be their little slave boy, but apparently I'm not good enough anime. Justice for Jacques.
God.
I'm rewatching with this new idea.
Yeah.
Please do. Okay, well then let's jump into the film itself. It all begins with a Scooby gang investigating an old castle. We go under some brilliant credit work here. which I just really love and appreciate. It is gorgeous. The gang is being chased by a horrible green monster. I sort of defied definition, but like a Schengen, is that how do you pronounce that word? Like a fish man? Okay.
Sure.
Well, a Schengen, if I am pronouncing that correctly, like a fish man.
To what mythology system are you subscribing here?
Like Celtic, Irish?
No, I borrowed for Final Fantasy. I don't know where I know this word. Like,
he is dubbed the moat monster in the movie, if that helps.
Thank you. The moat monster. So like a fish man is chasing them around. I will say that, like, surprisingly high stakes situation here at the beginning of the film. Daphne and Velma almost die. Just shocking for Scooby Doo to raise the stakes that high. But they discover that the fishman, the moat monster, was again just another selfish rich guy in this instance. And this, truly and honestly, I was turned up to 11 because they're like, he's a real estate tycoon who was counterfeiting money in the basement. It's a double whammy. Not only are you an asshole by profession, but then you were doing some shady shit as well. Perfect chef's kiss on that one. But as it turns out, this whole sequence was just a story that Daphne was telling on a television talk show called Exposition in the Morning. The gang has split up to the four winds, seemingly for good, after growing tired only ever finding masked villains. And we're shown what everyone is up to. Fred is Daphne's cameraman on her new TV show. Velma owns a bookstore, and Shaggy and Scooby are working as security at the airport. Daphne complains to the host of Exposition this morning that she misses the gang, so Fred has a great idea. Since Daphne is going to drive around the United States looking for supernatural evidence, why not bring the gang back together? And that is exactly what they do. Daphne and Fred are ready to hit the road, and Fred opens the back door of their van and surprises her with the reunited gang. They're all back together!
Yay!
Amanda, what did you think of this opening?
I love it. Visually, like, this movie's stunning all the way through, but there's something so dark and creepy about just that opening sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And then the weird shift to here's a normal talk show with a hot pink power suit. It's just so much fun. I love the colors in this movie.
Yeah, for sure. I also
the
really
colors
like
are great.
The colors are so good. The art's so good. The way that they like have a very thick black heavy line, like outlining everything, and like the art style is it's like so visually distinct. Like you could tell a still from this movie like versus anything else. I also love that Daphne was matching her lipstick to her like undershirt. Nice.
I believe you.
I also just want to point out that notably the gang breaking up and like getting back together after or separating their ways was reused in the 2002 live-action Scooby Doo movie.
Have not seen that either.
Don't worry, you will.
Okay, great.
Amanda's going to set up her Scooby Doo podcast, and we're going to go through it all. And David, you're going to have to be dragged along.
Bring it on.
For every Scooby Doo thing that you have not seen.
Bring it on.
Just forward him all the watch lists I text you, Tyler.
There we go. Perfect.
Hey, I love the opening as well, but I really love that we've got the Scooby Doo Where Are You cover. Looked this up for my notes and gagged that this was performed by Third Eye Blind. A band whose perhaps most famous song is about the suicide of a friend who used a lot of substances. Wild to pick that group to sing Scooby-Doo Where Are You, but it is a banging cover.
It was the 90s, David.
It was the 90s.
Every song was about that.
Every song was about that. You know what? You're not wrong.
Yeah.
The Witch's Ghost opening was Billy Ray Cyrus.
Wow.
It's true.
Wow. Okay. But you know what? I will also say, if you type in Scooby-Doo Where Are You to Spotify, a lot of people have covered this song.
Yeah.
And it's almost oops, all bangers. There were a couple that I found that I was like, you did not read the assignment. Like you were like, what if I did this with like a soft piano background and I slowed it down to like 0.5? That didn't work for me. But almost everything else, this is a great song.
Like, people like Scooby Doo and are excited to sing songs for them.
Yeah.
We do. We love Scooby Doo here in the States. So I think a fun thing that I really wasn't expecting, but I caught on this new watch was Daphne's show. It's called Coast to Coast, and it's a show about the supernatural. I think this is a pretty explicit reference to a real radio show that has gone on for several decades called Coast to Coast AM, which is a late night radio show that was famously hosted by a fellow named Art Bell before he passed.
Wow.
Coast to Coast AM, like I said, is a late night show that plays all night long and syndicated all across the country. And they would focus on things like alien abductions, lots of conspiracy theories. Not all of them were like the scary conspiracy theories that we deal with today. A lot of them were things like, who is Bigfoot? What is Bigfoot up to? But they would also famously have people call in and share their experiences with the supernatural. So there is like a little bit of fondness, I think, for Coast to Coast AM, especially around like sci-fi horror, kind of like media creators, like authors and comic artists and so on. I think we're kind of in a weird era where conspiracy theories are less cute and charming than they were back in the 90s. So I don't know if this would land quite as well these days, but still, I love that this was something that they explicitly called out. Daphne was trying to do something similar.
That's fun. That's really fun, Tyler.
Even as a TV show. So I loved that.
I love that.
Yeah. Also, Shaggy and Scooby being cops, you hate to see it.
Yeah,
Like,
they're...
typically,
Yeah.
They were only there for like a week and then immediately got fired for eating too much cheese.
Well,
I believe that for sure.
I will say that it does pay off. I was shocked to see their character models change to the degree of how full of food they were. Because typically when you see Shaggy and Scooby eat, it does not make any visible change. You are just meant to interpret that their metabolism is so high. And seeing them overstuffed was shocking, but it was kind of good fun. So I did suspend my disbelief. Customs are an important part of the political world that we live in. So I didn't like also thinking about them as cops. I like to think about them as customs agents.
Also,
This is pre 9/11, so they should be
True.
less aggressive.
Oh my God, that's right. This is pre 9/11. Okay, well, we take cheese. We took cheese. Cheese spreads disease. Cheese, disease, they rhyme, it spreads. So you have to be serious about certain foods. So that makes sense. I would never eat something that was confiscated in customs, as a heads up.
That's a shame because a lot of that confiscated food looks pretty good.
What were they going to do with it all otherwise?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Someone else was going to eat it. Let's be real.
In the Walloping Web Snappers episode that Doug and Derek, when they covered this, they like looked it up while they were recording, and it would just be destroyed.
Yeah.
Wasteful.
You simply must. You simply must.
So Scooby and Shaggy were actually doing like something good, like a moral good that no food should be wasted.
Heroes, no matter where they are.
Yeah, I think
Exactly.
that they said that there was like an opportunity you could buy it back, but if not, then it would just be destroyed.
So they steal my cheese and then charge me money for the cheese I already bought.
That's
Yes.
correct.
And typically,
What a scam.
Typically, it would only be able to be sent back to the country with which it was brought in from. It cannot come into the country you're going to.
So if I got like really good Iberico ham from Spain,
Better eat it on the flight.
No,
I guess.
if it's sealed and you declared it, it's fine.
But if it was undeclared,
Well, then you're in trouble, buddy. That's illegal. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I snuck tons of stuff from the U.S. back into Spain, but like nothing.
Don't. That's a joke. Legally, that's a
Yeah.
joke.
Come.
Yeah.
It's
come
in
for me.
Minecraft.
Come for me, Ayudamento. I bring it on. Bring it on is what I say to you.
do not. That is a
Don't.
joke. He is. I'm moving on before David gets thrown into a prison. So the Scooby Gang travel the country, but find nothing but more people in Monster Mass. But eventually they travel to New Orleans, Louisiana. A woman named Lena overhears members of the gang complaining about not finding real supernatural evidence. So she says, "Come with me to my home that I work at on Moonscar Island, because this house is really, truly haunted." Though members of the gang are skeptical, the Scooby Gang still travels to Moonscar Island, where they meet Jacques, the ferry captain, Snakebite Scruggs, an irritable fisherman played by the legendary Mark Hamill, Beau the gardener, and Simone, the owner of this allegedly haunted house and Lena's employer/wife. Beau is a cranky sort of guy, which isn't helped by Scooby's need to chase Simone's cats all around the property, tearing up Simone's garden, earning the beginnings of her wrath. So Snape by Scruggs is so fun. He's not plot relevant really at all. He's just kind of like a vehicle for gags. But he is a little fun guy.
Yes. It's strange that when you introduced all of these characters, you neglected to introduce the best character, which is Mojo the pig. And I would like some sort of compensation for
and
that
the catfish with the name that I forgot.
Yeah, I forgot the catfish's name too.
Yeah, Mona-the-catfish.
I really thought Big Mona
Mona
was going to make some sort of significant third act appearance. But even her naming and a couple sightings was a red herring in my mind.
Yeah, no, like this was a really fun group of red herrings. Like you really get everybody all at once, and I thought that was really great. Since you called out Mark Hamill, I do just want to say that Shaggy and Scooby's boss was also voiced by Mark Hamill. I haven't looked it up, but I'd recognize that voice anywhere.
They were like, while you're here, could you just fire Scooby and Shaggy?
Yeah, no. Additional voices. You got it, Mark.
You really got to. Just do it. The sequence with all of the monsters. Can we talk about that?
Yes.
Just adored this. I think that the Ghost is Here by Sky Cycle is a banger.
The ghost is here and it's always a fake. The ghost is here, there's no reason to shake. The ghost is here, I'll give us a break. It's fake.
I had so much fun with it. I think it did a really good job of not only like showing the usual like things that you would see in an episode. I kind of felt like I was binging Scooby Doo episodes, truly and honestly, because they were like, here's the setting, here's the monster, here's them uncovering it. Next, here's the setting, here's the monster, here's them uncovering it. But I also think that it really delivered on the important plot points, which is that everyone was like kind of bummed out about it, Daphne especially. And because a lot of this film is about Daphne, I do think it was really cool and important to do that. And I really liked it. I liked it a lot.
I love the detail of the monster settings. Like they get fleshed out locations and whatever their scheme is, and like 2 seconds you get the full story. And there's some really lazy like copy paste monster designs in some of the series. So this warms my heart that we got like really cool lobster monster to be thrown away for like a minute.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Like it'd be so fun to see them pop up and get a full episode somewhere later.
I would love that.
Yeah.
For sure. Maybe as like more millennials take positions at like, you know, Warner Brothers Animation, as long as it still lives.
We're just gonna get wish fulfillment later.
Yeah, we're gonna just get that wish fulfillment later, so we'll get whole episodes dedicated to the lobster monster.
I want to see
which
that.
Is also just fun to say.
Bat. That one is the scariest thing in this movie for me. That creepy ghoul.
Mm-hmm.
Love him.
And I just want to shout out the Scoobypedia because I pulled this up earlier because I noticed that the lobster monster was in all of these cans that said Bubba something. And God bless these internet nerds. There was a whole article on Bubba Joe, who only appears in this film for 1 second. And they have detailed the entire appearance of his existence.
Wonderful. I love that. That's so great.
People who are passionate about stuff are my favorite kind of people, and the people who run that wiki love Scooby Doo more than I will potentially love anything, and I love that for them.
Yeah,
Amanda's actually the admin.
Oh wow, great!
I wish.
It's a dream job.
I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about Lena and Simone.
Yeah,
let's do it.
So I think that there's definitely some. It's surely meant to be on the surface like Simone is just the employer and then Lena is the employee, but the fact that they have been together as long as they have, which we will end up discovering by the end of the film, they have like sort of opposing color theming. Lena is very red, Simone is very blue. There's many connections that the two of them have, and I think when you kind of look back at like feminine monsters, we see like Camilla, the first vampire, or Carmilla, the first vampire, who is kind of trying to seduce people, trying to, suck their life energy out of them. And there's some lesbian tones that go along with that. And of course we see that, like, that's literally what is going on here, except instead of vampires, we have werecats. I think it's kind of interesting to see that being played out on the screen for us.
Yeah. No, like I said earlier, that lesbian vampires are gay and werecats are gayer than regular werewolves. Like, one of the first horror movies in Hollywood's history that, like, actually got awards was Cat People. So, like, cat vampires are gay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can I tell you something about Lena and Simone that bums me out a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh, please.
And bums me out about the film in general. And like, I understand that we're in the 90s. New Orleans is a famously diverse part of the country.
Yeah.
It has a pretty significant amount of the population who are Black or Creole. Lena and her employer both borrow a lot from that culture. And this is a very, very white environment. There are only a couple of background character designs who are Black. And it really took me out in these scenes of New Orleans, especially when Lena showed up and was like giving me some full on, like, just south of Dolly Parton vibes, and then throwing in some of the stuff, even the po' boy cook, or the chef who's preparing them a po' boy sandwich, which is also not a po' boy, was bumming me out a little bit. I felt like we were in New Orleans for name only, like, and it was a little bit disruptive to my viewing.
It's probably like, I totally see where you're coming from with that. I think, like, we talked about this with our X-Files episode, how some colorblind casting that just isn't fully thought out is commonly the culprit here. I kind of think that might be the case here as well, where it's people not realizing what it is that they're doing or thinking it's not really a big deal, but then of course it actually is like a pretty big deal. So I'm really glad that's something that you pointed out.
Yeah. And I think it'll come back to bite us when we talk about the cat god and the worship of the cat god from what appear to be like just off the Mayflower Pilgrims for their character design. So it is kind of an interesting thing for us to track, just to be critical observers from a film that's now 90s to today 29 years old.
29.
29.
I don't like that. It's close to 30, and okay. I don't like that.
Yeah. But this came out in like 98.
98.
So...
98.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then really bad math on my part there.
That's fine. We all get it.
It's closer to 30 than it is to 20. So, no matter what, the point has been made.
I am also closer to 30 than I am to 20.
That's great, David.
Well, Shaggy and Scooby discover the pain and pleasure of the island's hot peppers. Daphne, Fred, and Velma come across some real evidence of supernatural activity. First, a warning scratched on the kitchen wall by the ghost of Captain Moonscar tells everyone to get out. And then, Velma levitates. Afterwards, Velma discovers that parts of Captain Moonscar's pirate ship were used to construct Simone's house. The plot thickens. Later, after Shaggy and Scooby get into more shenanigans around the house, the two fall into a pit. In a flash of green light, the skeleton of Captain Moonscar animates into a zombie. Shaggy and Scooby escape, eventually reuniting with the gang. When the gang investigates the hole, they find no evidence of the zombie, but they do find Bo behaving suspiciously.
I love the shot of Velma levitating, and then she's having to, like, make sure that her skirt is, like, being kept in place. I thought that was kind of like a fun gag, and I think, like, I know I have seen that moment memed quite a bit when people are shipping Velma and Daphne together. Which I guess we haven't really talked about so far, but I think there's been quite a lot of, like, shipping of Mystery Inc., not just between Fred and Daphne, but Velma has been with Shaggy, she's been with Daphne, there's been some unrequited stuff, some requited stuff. Velma has also been romantically attracted to women in other Scooby products. I think there's quite a bit of interesting stuff that we could talk about with Velma, but we'll probably have to save the bulk of that for another day. But I do think still, like, it is kind of interesting to see Velma, who I think is also one of the more skeptical people, is the one who experiences the most, like, obtrusive, undeniable evidence of the supernatural.
Yeah. It is also nice then for Fred to end up taking that skeptic role, which I think then plays through the rest of the second act. And even here, as Velma's levitating, she's like, no, there are no wires. Like, this is shit off the hook. But then she does investigate the wall, and she's like, I bet there's a secret behind this. And y'all, this girl just destroys the wall of the people that she is visiting. War crime. Velma, war criminal. What's the deal here?
It was very upsetting
anyway.
That's
yeah,
true.
you know,
That's true.
Fair's fair. Also,
but,
they were gonna try and kill them later, so, you know.
But we didn't know that at the time, so in this moment, Velma,
Yeah, for real.
deviant.
I just think if a bespectacled cutie comes in your building and she's wielding a spatula, just watch out for your drywall, because she's coming for it.
My favorite Velma trait, though, she is ruthless, like, from the very beginning.
That's
I
true.
love that for her.
Amanda, do you have any other thoughts on this sequence of events?
I love the weird green beam of light. I don't know, whatever it is. But I love that imagery, is just seeing, like, these piles of bones turn into creepy zombies. Especially with,
it was good.
Like, the pirate captain. Like, he's got such weird, cool details.
Yeah.
He is so
I thought
wrinkly.
He is so wrinkly.
But it works.
I think it's kind of cool, too. Because, like, this wrinkly-ass pirate captain, we are informed, but Scooby and Shaggy are not, as to what he actually looks like. Because Simone is able to point out in Fred's video footage that he is the one who carved the "Get Out, Beware" message in the wall. And then Scooby and Shaggy end up in this pit, and then they come across this skeleton that turns into the zombie of Captain Moonscar, but they don't know that it's Captain Moonscar. They just think, oh my god, a zombie pirate has come to life. So that's like a neat little bit of irony there that we can know, but the two characters do not.
Yeah.
In
y'all's first viewing, which I know I'm asking you to go into the way back of your memory, did you think that this was all still, like, that there was a real estate guy at the center of all of this, and this was all going to be explained away?
I think that on the one hand, yes, I was expecting, like, I don't know what, but, like, there was probably going to be some kind of trick at some point.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the advertising did use, like, Daphne's "It's Real" line a lot on Cartoon Network, and that is where I watched this movie. So I think that I didn't know what was going on, but I think that I had to have some kind of base awareness that there was something that was supernaturally real, but because it's Scooby Doo, I think I was also expecting some kind of trick.
You know, even as a little kid, when I was watching Scooby Doo, like, Scooby Doo, Where Are You? I was thinking, like, this stuff is really fun, but it would be cool for them to come across, like, an actual mummy one of these days, or, like, an actual vampire. And so when this came out, and like Marilee said, you know, she saw the advertising and they had Daphne saying "It's real," I was instantly like, oh my god, it's everything I wanted in a Scooby-Doo, which I think is one of the reasons why I ended up loving Zombie Island so much growing up, was because I was just like, oh yeah, this actually has, like, zombies and cat people and stuff. And that's what made it really fun. But I wouldn't say that I was, like, surprised that it turned out to be, like, the real supernatural, just because it was lightly spoiled, but it was, like, a big reason why I ended up really loving it.
Also, just while, you know, we're in this section, I just big shout out to Frank Welkers for how he pronounces treasure. Never fails to bring a smile to my face.
He is consistent.
I do love Frank Welker's voice
Treasure.
as Fred.
Yeah.
All right, well, that night, the Scooby gang has dinner with Simone. Scooby, however, can't stop chasing after Simone's cats, which results in both him and Shaggy being banished to the Mystery Machine to eat crawdads and peppers. Soon, the Mystery Machine is surrounded by a small horde of cats, by a medium to large size horde of small cats. It is a lot of cats. But while Scooby and Shaggy escape, they end up pursued by zombies from across different time periods, including some that could be from the present day. Meanwhile, the rest of the gang investigates the bayou. Velma stays with Bo, as she is suspicious of his motives. Fred and Daphne find the abandoned Mystery Machine as well as a pirate zombie. Joined shortly by Scooby and Shaggy, Daphne and Fred discover that their skepticism was misplaced. Fred tears off the still animated zombie head, revealing that these zombies are very real. Everyone takes off, alternating splitting up and reuniting with Velma and Bo, but losing Fred's video camera in the process. Goodbye to all that proof of the supernatural.
This is such a fun sequence of events. I love that they basically had them running through the mansion, but the mansion in this case was a bayou. Just getting into all sorts of little gags that involve, like, there's zombies here, there's zombies there, there's zombies everywhere. There's such a diversity of zombie types as well. Also, like, various body types too. Like, there weren't just like a bunch of like emaciated, thin zombie, but there's like bigger zombies, there's medium-sized zombies, there's zombies that are missing parts of their body, there's zombies that are wearing different outfits, but the outfits all look like they were drawn with a bit of care.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there are also Civil War zombies, as we discover. From both armies that were fighting against each other in the Civil War, which I think makes it a little weird for those of us who, well, I guess kind of all of us Americans that would have not wanted the Confederacy to win. Seeing good, quote-unquote, Confederate zombies is a little odd. But I guess when you're having to go against cat people, everything else kind of falls away.
Perhaps the issues that put brother against brother were no longer important after your life force had been stolen from you by cat women, and
things are put into a different perspective at that point.
Yeah. If you pay attention to what these zombies are actually doing during this, again, excellent sequence, you can see that they are actually helping the gang. Like, at one point, Scooby is like trapped in the quicksand because quicksand, it's the 90s, of course it's a danger. And one of them hands Shaggy a vine so he could like Tarzan swing over and save Scooby. And there are a couple different things like that, which is like the first kind of hints that all is not what it seems.
You know what's interesting though, Marilee, is that even watching it, that's the sort of thing that happens in these chase sequences, is sometimes Scooby and Shaggy in particular get helped by the villain, not out of kindness of their heart. It's just it's the way that the show told these sequences. And so it didn't even clock for me the ultimate reveal about the zombies. I just truly thought we were in the usual wacky town, but as Tyler said, rather than being in a giant corridor with lots of doorways, we were in a swamp.
That's a fair point.
Amanda, what do you think about like the whole reveal that the zombies are real when Fred and Daphne run into them?
Straight up horrifying. Fred rips a man's head off, and then he finally goes, "Oh, we might have found something weird." Like, that's gonna haunt him for life, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's a very strong man, apparently. He could just rip a human body's head off?
I did always love that scene of him putting his own head back on and, like, twisting it around into place. I don't know what young Amanda was on, but that was never that haunting to me. I was like, oh, that's so fun.
It's comical.
It's kind of just, like, part of what makes this, like, a really fun, like, animated film is that there's a lot of gags.
There's just
in
enough
the animation
humor to
itself.
keep you from crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
God, the art in this movie rules.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, it looks really good.
I think it's really fun and enjoyable. Plus, there's like some callbacks before we go into this montage of Scooby Doo Adventures Past. Like there's David, why don't you tell us a little bit about Fred and what he's up to? in some of the earlier scenes with like the ascot.
Yeah. I do. I mean, I know it's the Daphne with her hair, Velma with her glasses cleaning cloth, and Fred here with his ascot. We do a really good job of showing, not telling, how all of these effects will later be gathered by Simone in order to create the wax figures of the 3 characters from Mystery Inc. so that they can be controlled by her. But I do really, I like it both in the story beat that it delivered, but also as a sort of pastiche of Fred has changed. He does not look the same like he used to. He does not wear his ascot. He has a completely different design, and so does Daphne. And I think this sequence in particular was one where I thought you got to see a lot of Fred and Daphne's platonic relationship. And I didn't read a lot of that platonic relationship as a jealousy. It looked like 2 friends who maybe even dated, but then came out and stayed friends rather than let that separate them. Even down to the point where Fred tells like an excellent dad, not even a dad joke, not even a joke. He remarks that the cooking is supernatural.
Hey, we should do a segment on Lena's pecan pie, Daff. It's supernatural.
You are so corny.
And it's filled with love. It is the right kind of needling. And that's why when they both sort of accuse each other of, oh, like you need to go and save your girlfriend. Oh, you're going to save your boyfriend. That felt much more needling and playful. And essentially it was right before all the zombie stuff happened. They were just accusing each other of being heterosexual. And it wasn't jealousy. It was more like, that's not who you are anymore.
Oh, I love that interpretation.
That is a very fun read.
I love that.
Because to me, like, it totally seemed like they were doing, bits about, like, they might have some sort of unrequited thing for each other, but they don't realize that they both feel the same way. So when Fred is kind of talking with Lena, not really even flirting with her, she's just more or less chatting, and Daphne is doing the same thing with Beau. They're both just like, oh, why don't you go save your girlfriend or whatever, or why don't you go spend some time with Beau? I read that more as like a little bit of jealousy, but I much prefer your read, David, just because it feels like a little bit healthier. So that's really fun.
Yeah.
I think it also plays into the queer aspect of this as well, with your reading, just because. Yeah, like how often do we see a relationship between 2 people of opposing genders where instead of it being seen as like a toxic jealousy needling thing, instead it's more just like, oh, you are so like, it's all like platonic but kind and loving, and it's part of that shared experience of like, we've been through so much and we are this family, we travel around in a van with a dog, like you're going to form attachments from that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I do too.
I want to mention about Beau. I love how suspicious they are of him.
Mm-hmm.
For good reason, but also they've met 5 people at this bayou. 3 of 5 are evil cat monsters.
Yeah.
They have latched onto the one guy who you would argue is on their side.
Right.
And decided this gardener's up to something. I don't trust him.
It's
Everyone
so
else
funny.
is cool, though.
Yeah. Never mind the suspicious person who doesn't want other people around this area, potentially, who could be looking for a treasure instead of a Mona-the-catfish. That doesn't matter. No, the gardener's the one who's suspicious.
I kind of like this idea, too, that this is like the beginning of a potential friendship between Velma and Beau. I love a story that goes from, like, of course, enemies to lovers, but also just, like, enemies to friends.
Yeah.
I think is really fun. And as we see by the end of the film, Velma and Beau discover that they have a lot more in common than they have differentiating them. And again, that's just like a fun sort of queering of what we would expect from a typical heterosexual relationship, where they bond over intellect or fondness for poetry or literature, what have you. And it seems to be more of a meeting of the minds. And I think you can kind of see the seeds of that here, where Velma is thinking very intellectually about Beau. And Beau is just kind of pissed off because that's who Beau's character is at this point.
Right.
But I think that's really fun, and I think there's some neat payoff of that towards the end.
Yeah, before David gave me his excellent analysis, I just kind of always assumed that, like, they were setting up a relationship between Beau and Velma as opposed to the Beau and Daphne of it all. And at the end, it's like, no, these two are the ones who are perfect for each other. But no, she's a lesbian, and it's much better this way. Thank you.
Well, and again, I think for a film that really is about how you change your perspective on something you know really well, which is a queer thing, I think that it is pretty early Scooby Doo paint by numbers. I mean, Amanda, let me know if I'm really off base here because you're the expert, but you introduce a character that you throw all your red herringness onto. They suspicious as fuck. They twirl a mustache, which he's practically doing, except he's like unbearded. He looks like he's wrong all the time. And then you sprinkle in that other introduced character, and we get a moment with Snakebite during the whole zombie chase of it all. He's still fishing for Big Mona. And that's where I, from my past history of Scooby-Doo, was like, aha, we're reminding him that he's there. So later when we unmask all of this and it was all Snakebite all along, I won't have forgotten about him. And I liked keeping the trappings of a lot of that around, but then still defying it, which is what I think sets this apart.
Yeah.
Do you think it's impressive Snakebite's just still alive? Like, was he their emergency pantry or something? Like, why have they not just taken him out? Did they just like him?
I do wonder if he's like so unbothered, and they're just like, no, let him get this catfish, and then we'll eat his soul.
He
like
keeps
we can't.
people away.
Yeah.
They're clearly making a choice to not slurp his energy out, and
yeah,
he does hate Taurus.
Yeah. I think that maybe it's like one of the things, like, he's a local, so if he disappeared, other people would notice. Because they do have Jacques as the ferry boat person, like, there's, especially, like, Lena grabbed these people, there was no, like, they weren't planning on going, this was, like, in the 90s, so people didn't have cell phones. They probably didn't give them a lot of opportunity for them to call and say, this is where we're going. It's easier for them to disappear somebody like that versus like somebody like Snakebite who would have roots in the local community.
Mm.
Not to
plus that boar would probably kill Simone and Lena before.
Yeah, or at least some of the cats.
Else. Yeah. Well, Fred, Daphne, Velma, and Beau return to the house, having heard Lena screaming in distress. They find Lena in a secret passage under the stairs, who claims that Simone was dragged away by zombies. While the rest of the game believe her, Velma expresses skepticism. See, Velma found Simone's footprints in the dirt rather than drag marks, which she would expect if Simone was dragged away by zombies.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Simone appears, confirming Velma's suspicions, and unveils a moon dial. The gang are captured, forced into imprisonment by wax voodoo dolls constructed in their image. It's at this point where Simone and Lena turn into werecats and explain their backstories. The two lived in a community of settlers on this island who worshipped a cat god. One night, Captain Moonscar arrived, driving all the settlers except for Simone and Lena into the swamps of the bayou, where they are eaten by alligators. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Wasn't expecting that even as a kid. Simone and Lena pray to their cat god to aid them in getting revenge. Their god obliges, granting them their werecat powers. There is, however, a caveat. To maintain their werecat powers and immortality, they have to suck the life force out of victims every harvest moon. Thus, Lena lured the Scooby Gang to the island.
Okay, so Amanda, we got Tyler and Marilee's answers earlier, but was the realness of all of this still possible in your mind? Like, could this all have been wires and magnets and holograms until obviously people were becoming cats in front of you? Or did you also know before this big reveal?
I think I knew well before this. And like Marilee said, they did a lot of advertising about, like, the ghosts are real this time. But I did not expect, like, coming up in this scene, the plot twist that, like, oh, these two we've been hanging out with are the villain. Like, I think that was more the shift for me than that the supernatural was real.
Got it. Yeah, it
I
is a
just
big
blindly
revelation.
went in, like, yeah, the ghosts are real this time. That's cool.
And then the fact that they're werecats just totally comes out of left field, too, because this whole time we've been dealing with zombies.
It's
and I mean,
blew
the whole
my
movie
tiny
is
mind.
called the movie is called Zombie Island, not Zombie and Werecat Island.
Yeah.
So
what about you, David?
No, this was. I did believe this whole time that there were wires and holograms and projections and animatronic zombies, and that we were going to get to a revelation point, because that is what this franchise has taught me to expect. And when all of a sudden, even at first, when Simone's face transforms, I was like, are we just doing like a really weird image? And then no, like then we were in like actual supernatural territory. And that was very surprising to me. I was waiting for some sort of complicated and bizarre explanation of all of this, down to the point that I was even theorizing something like Fred arranged all of this and hired a bunch of actors just to give Daphne this realistic supernatural experience. And I think that maybe because we did then shift into no, just like ghosts are real, I was a little crestfallen that I felt like I had worked up to this moment of being able to unmask the villain, and just it was a totally different story than what I was expecting.
Yeah, I could see why you would be disappointed then.
Desperate to know what you would think of Return to Zombie Island.
Okay. If I must go back, then I will, and I will tell you my thoughts when I return.
Amanda, what did you think of this whole backstory and the motivations behind Simone and Lena? It's
so interesting. Like, I love a good historical nonsense, especially with the supernatural. Like, slutty vampire, my favorite genre. This is pretty close.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
But, like, it's weird now as an adult to look at it, and not like an 8-year-old, and realize, like, how long this has been going on. Like, the costumes they're wearing, like, how, like, I mean, these could be straight off the Mayflower. Like, this is old. Pirating was around the 1800s in Louisiana, so we're already that far back. And then just to see, like Tyler mentioned, like, the zombies are in such wildly different outfits for so many time periods. Like, it's so neat as an adult to get to see how, like, the Easter eggs almost.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, they have to do this every Hunter Moon, which is like once a year, every year for 200 years. Wild number of people.
Mm-hmm.
So many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, just like a surprisingly dark end to Simone and Lena's village.
Yeah. That's the thing that, like, really, when I was paying attention to it, like this time when I was watching it through, I was shocked with the way that they were all killed. It was like, I can't believe they got away with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
growing up in Florida, like, alligators were just kind of there. Are bayou alligators, like, straight up feral, trying to eat you all the time? Or are we just playing into alligator propaganda here? Will they really go eat an entire community if they dare to go for a swim?
No, I do believe that this is alligator propaganda, as you have rightfully identified, but I do think you can get pretty fucked up if you are messing around with creatures in any wetland area.
Mm-hmm. I think it's fascinating, too, that somehow the idea that they were all eaten by alligators is less violent than if Moonscar's pirates had just chopped them all up. So kind of an interesting choice there that the creators came up with, and that Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers allowed.
It's not murder if alligators do it.
Very true. Yeah, maybe that's part of it, is that it's not murder. It's just alligators being alligators according to the propaganda.
And I do think you need to get to a place where you are sympathetic to the zombies as represented by Moonscar as its leader, so that they can be the heroes that were trying to stop others from having their souls taken away. And that's a lot harder to do if Moonscar, like, committed a tiny genocide on this tribe.
He still did that. He still did that.
That was an alligator. Weren't you watching?
Yeah. off-screen via alligator, I guess.
I mean, it was
very
kind
zoomed
of
out
off
as
screen,
well.
but it kind of was on screen. Like,
Yeah.
if you watch, like, you see, like, the little alligators darting towards people and splashes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, the whole thing, I mean, I don't think that the script was written and they were like, I really hope some queers get together and talk about this. To like dive deep in and analyze. But I do think that, like, in addition to standards and practices being like, you can't literally cut off the heads of people with a cutlass, which is probably a good note for a children's movie.
Mm-hmm.
Any violence towards others needs to be indirect. And a way to do that is through asking an animal to do it for you, which is kind of shitty, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's no cliffs for them to be forced off of and fall down Wile E. Coyote style, so got to go with the next best thing, which is a bunch of alligators.
Yeah,
That's
famously no cliffs in a swamp. Yeah.
Infamous, really, for that.
Really.
David, you kind of previewed this, but now we're at the point where we're starting to deal with cat gods. I'm interested to hear, what is your take on this idea that these pilgrims essentially were worshiping cat gods?
Yeah, the idea of worship of an animal deity, the use of these wax figurines, and using them to control others the way that voodoo practice might then emulate. And I can't remember if they actually name it as voodoo or not.
They do.
Okay. So there's a lot of like playing with indigenous Creole communities and the way that a lot of this ends up getting expressed. And that's where, and so there was animal worship with those groups. That's where I think a lot of this starts to become a little complicated for me when I think about trade and early commerce and communication with Central American cultures, with those who made the wetlands of what we now think of as New Orleans their home. If there was a group that settled, they either came upon existing shrines that worshipped this, or we are meant to interpret them as indigenous. And this is where, again, I was just like, these are some white ladies. Like Simone, God bless her, still alive. If she had been successful, would have been yelling at a manager that there's not a Christmas cup this year at Starbucks or whatever. Just she has that hairdo, and I don't know what else to tell you except that they are like, that's a consequence of like not having diverse writers and animators in the 90s, and we pay the consequences for it in media that persists today.
You know,
I think
you're so fair.
Yes, I agree. I'm kind of wondering if it would be easy enough to tell, or too complicated for an hour, 20-minute
Sure.
animated film, if they were like African American or Black Creoles practicing legitimate voodoo, or God forbid the Hollywood version of voodoo, which would play into a lot of racist stereotypes. Yeah. What would it look like if a bunch of white kids showed up to their island and they were just like, well, this is wrong and we're going to defeat you for it.
Right.
Only to see them, be defeated at the end.
Yeah, it's sort of a no-win. Like I can't actually tell you a better version of this because
Yeah, I don't know about better, but I have to say, I always kind of thought that Simone was like a French settler. I thought that these were early French colonists into like this French area. And I always thought it was weird that they had a statue of Bast, the Egyptian cat god. And like, even as an 8-year-old, I, of course, had a very intense Egyptian mythology phase because I was a queer, neurodivergent, woman-adjacent person in the 90s. That's just, it came free.
Yeah.
So I always thought that, like, weird how these French settlers had this intense cat thing going on, but I guess I wish that they had, like, made something a little bit more French, I guess. I think that would have solved a lot more problems if they had really leaned into, like, that kind of aspect of it.
Yeah, like we pray to this altar of fermented grapes and we turn into killer baguettes once a year.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
Okay.
I would watch that. I would pay to watch that.
Yeah.
I'd pay $1.
Yeah. I think that they could have done something that made more sense but they just went with the easy visuals
Yeah.
and didn't bother, you know?
Yeah, because it's also the 90s, and in the 90s, that was not a very politically correct time, and we didn't really appreciate anything beyond, like, that required complex thought. A lot of that is because, as David said, we didn't have a lot of diverse creators working in this space.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go with what is simplest for kids to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And now as adults, we can kind of see and critique that while still celebrating, like, this is a really great kids film.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good Scooby Doo movie. So I think I really enjoy that we get to have these conversations because that shows, like, our passion for the material. You know, we want things to be better, but we also have to recognize, like, this is a reality. And we want to keep on speaking on behalf of improvements and wanting things to improve and making things improve. But because of the nature of what we do here on this pod, we will critique and we will just talk about, like, this was the truth of it. This was the reality that we had to work within.
Yeah, but put it all to bed. They turn into Catwomen and they're fucking gorgeous. Like, this looks
oh my God, yeah.
fantastic.
I do love that. Cat people coming out of nowhere, that's great.
Just
I've been thinking about it. I think the reason why this reveal, like, not only because it was you know, like, not what the movie told us was going to be coming, but why it was so surprising was because most of the time with supernatural Scooby-Doo adaptations, like with Ghoul School and The Reluctant Werewolf and, like, 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, like, it tells you it's going to be supernatural up front. They're like, this is a supernatural Scoob. But this one, it all sets up that this is, like, the normal Scooby-Doo, Where Are You Scooby-Doo, where they're fake, and then it turns out to be real.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that's why you kept expecting it to not be real, because that's what the show had told you it was.
Yeah, but hey, that's what made it such a fun watch as a queer reading, because queer people defy the expectations of what normally is the script for how we live our lives, whether that's our decision not to engage in a compulsorily heterosexual relationship or to seek out the love of other queers, or just, you know, getting pounded every night by a giant cat man who was operating the ferry, which I think, you know, totally valid lifestyle.
So true.
He did have a real glow up when he transformed.
Truly and honestly.
I agree.
Truly and honestly. And I, you know, I keep an ongoing list of am I a furry, and not being into Jacques was a mark in the con column. It didn't work for me, but I can appreciate it aesthetically, and it seemed like it should have.
Okay, so not a furry. How are you on the Mofino, like, scale? Like, we decided you were monster fucker for like 2 things so far. Are we, like...
No, I didn't go for any of that. Bo, maybe if he worked at a bookstore and wasn't a cop, maybe.
So Velma.
Okay.
Yeah, so Velma. You are not wrong. You are not wrong. I've always had
David, you're even dressed like Velma. Like, you're wearing glasses, your shirt matches Velma's shirt.
Fun.
Or her turtleneck.
And I have a little brown miniskirt on.
Oh my gosh.
It's true. Listeners, David is showing it off for us right now. He's doing, like, a little twirly thing. It's very nice. Merrily, take us home.
Okay. Meanwhile, Shaggy and Scooby attempt to escape from Jacques, who is also a werecat. Discussed. They fall into a hole, which conveniently leads to the Scooby Gang. Simone, and Lena. The wax dolls go flying, nearly melting as Shaggy and Scooby run away from the super werecat versions of Simone, Lena, and Jacques. The imprisoned gang manages to escape as zombies arrive to create more chaos and hamper Simone and Lena's plans. Still, Simone, Lena, and Jacques almost kill Bo, Velma, and Fred, but they fail as the harvest moon passes the appointed time on the moon dial, causing them to disintegrate. The zombies, in turn, move on to the afterlife. The story wraps up as we learn that, although Daphne lost her proof, Bo was an undercover cop investigating the disappearances on Moonscar Island, and therefore is able to corroborate the supernatural events of the story. The gang departs on a ferry, with Scooby grabbing some peppers as he leaves.
Just good time here. I gotta say that we sort of breezed through it when we were talking about the werecat transformations, but I like that Lena and Simone have a two-step transformation. Jacques is sort of Catman for life, but they go like a little feline at first, and then they like Hulk out of their garments. I like them in their modern clothing while being like sinister cat ladies because it's such high camp. It looks like I could see this on the runway of RuPaul's Drag Race. I would love to see a girl do Simone.
Let's see that on like the Boulet Brothers Dragula.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know?
Dragula.
Let's do like the transformation sequence as part of the runway look. That would be fucking cool.
That would be rad as hell, actually.
I actually do want to talk about that transformation sequence into their Super Saiyan werecat forms because it was extrememely well animated.
It was.
Like, it was very, very well done. There is so much detail that's happening in that sequence, and it's delightful. But Amanda, I would love to hear your thoughts on the ending of this production of Zombie Island.
I like seeing where everything lands, but I also really like how elaborate this game was for Simone and Lena. Like they've done this a lot. They specifically mentioned that Lena has lured people to the island just for this. Could they not do a much easier version where they just like drug their stupid dinner and then just have some mushy bodies to like absorb later? Like they set up this whole game. They had wax dolls for very little purpose. They presumably are the ones that levitated Velma 10 minutes after they got there.
No, that was the ghost of Moonscar, I thought.
I don't know.
No, it was. I think it was a Velma.
Yeah,
Oh,
the dolls are the
wax
only
figure.
confirmed levitation we see. It just feels like a really elaborate like game they've set up. Because I would get bored after 200 years of this on a
Same.
remote
Yeah.
island.
Mm-hmm.
But that was also apparently their downfall because then they stalled out of time and turned into dust.
God,
Yeah.
just like Jigsaw, man. You just get too complicated and then bites you in
too
the
much.
ass.
And you know what it was? Their fatal flaw was that they did not make wax doll figures of Scooby and Shaggy because
Yeah, it's
they
100%
thought
right.
they thought they were dumb.
Yeah. Well, they were right. They are dumb, but
Yeah,
They are dumb.
They
That
get
is true,
results.
but they
They're
do
lucky.
get results. It's almost like Scooby is a trickster figure.
I love when he shoots the pepper in Jacques' face. Like,
yeah,
Oh,
what
that
an
was
good.
great.
FU moment.
And again,
Mhm.
because there was so much of that, I just thought that there was going to be a big Mona moment. Like they got so close and Shaggy was about to be drowned by Simone for X reason. And then Big Mona flies out of the lake and slaps her in the face. And Shaggy gets away and is like, thanks, Big Mona.
That would have been like a great Lost Boys kind of moment where it turns out that Snake by Scruggs is like, oh yeah, Simone and Lena, the werecats,
Yeah.
Moonscar Island,
What a fucking nightmare.
all the damn werecats.
Yeah. So the cognitive dissonance of Velma saying, the zombies are the good guys, about a Confederate soldier, the dissonance of that was sure a choice.
Yeah.
It's like pointing right at the soldier, too. Like, in general,
Mhm.
the zombies are helping. They're bitter.
Mhm.
But just
Yeah.
single out that guy.
Yeah.
I
Why'd
don't
it
know
gotta be
him
that one?
personally, but there are less
could've been one of the
problematic
tourists.
choices.
Yeah.
There is like also a zombie ghost of a Confederate general who is the last one to say like thank you and goodbye.
Yeah.
That was interesting because I really expected that to be the main pirate. I guess
Missed opportunity.
in my first viewing, I was like, oh, that was the main pirate. And then when I viewed it again, I was like, wow. I did that math in my head. That is not who showed up. And what a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I think I actually have terrible 90s logic to explain that.
Because
Okay.
he's evil.
Because Captain Moonscar is the one who forced those villagers into the bayou.
Mhm.
He's kind of unredeemable. And so he can't be the one to say, like, thank you. He's got to appear monstrous all the way through.
That's fair.
Even if he's not, objectively a bad person because he's trying to stop Lena and Simone.
That's fair.
But, so they're just like, who should we have thank the the Scooby Gang before they say goodbye? How about a Confederate general, because they were part of the Lost Cause, and we have some noble fascination with the Confederacy, especially the leadership there, because they were just doing what they believed in.
What
so
a
sure,
fucking choice.
Oh man, so dumb.
How
There
fun
were a
is
lot
so
of
dumb.
people
if
who
we
were
swapped
killed
for the
who had
tourists.
nothing to do with anything. Like the spice traders or the tourists. They could have had one of them instead.
The spice traders would arguably be slaveholders, though. This was a
God,
plantation.
so right.
Yeah, there were and tourists are notoriously awful. Probably all these people went to hell after not being zombies anymore.
This was their purgatory. 200 years of this.
purgatory.
Y'all thought it was bad now, and they pulled the lever.
It's like Dante's Inferno 2, Zombie Island.
Oh man. I also want to talk now about Beau and Velma, because we do have that little moment between the two of them where Velma is apologetic about being, really suspicious, but Beau was behaving suspiciously, and Beau describes the beauty of the bayou at sunset, and Velma's just like, "Oh my gosh, you sound more like a poet than a police officer." And it's like, yeah, fuck cops, just go be a poet instead. But yeah, no, the two of them kind of bond over a love of literacy, because Velma mentions that she owns a bookstore, and it is kind of like a moment where it could turn into something romantic, or it could be left alone as just a platonic connection. But I think the fact that we're in that ambiguity allows it to work as a queer reading, where they could just be, maybe romantically attached or mentally attached to each other through a shared intellect or a shared fondness for something that is related to intellect or emotion or what have you, but is not necessarily a romantic attachment to each other where there's a physical desire, or they're not into each other because one is a man and one is a woman, but instead they are interested in a passion for the written word, which I love.
They're all trauma bonded now too.
Truly,
that too, yeah,
truly. Well, and I think again, to me, looking at it critically, the story was about Daphne, and if you accept Daphne as a queer character, then this man saying, no, what you saw and experienced is real and it matters, and I will corroborate your story, is the act of a heterosexual ally. And that's how I read Beau's final movement of saying, I support you. And that's the thing that an ally should do. It's not about what you wear to proclaim your allyship. It's about trusting queer lived experience, which is that Daphne saw what she wanted, supernatural existence.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Well, any other final thoughts for this episode? Anything you wanted to point out, or any other conversations that you may want to have?
I have my favorite fun fact for this movie.
Tell us.
I have no source, so I'm just going off fuzzy memories. But the reason this movie was so different compared to everything else we've gotten before and after, the studio had basically given up on Scooby. Historically not a successful moneymaker. They just threw people in a room and said, make a Scooby movie. So this is what that group of people came up with. And that's why everything's so much less dark after this, because they were paying attention again.
I believe it.
Can I share?
Very Shrek-esque.
Yeah, right.
Oh, it is got a Shrek origin story.
Just
lock
people in a room and let them make magic.
Yeah.
Especially in Shrek's case, it was all the people who were getting in trouble or didn't want to, or coming up with strange different ideas, and they were just you're getting Shrek'd. And then they were sent down to the basement.
Wow.
Punished to work on Shrek, and then
Wow.
Shrek ended up becoming
Wow.
Shrek.
Can I tell you my favorite fun fact about this?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Is that when they were working with Frank Welker, they kept insisting that he had changed his voice for Fred, and he said, no, I haven't. And what they discovered was that they had been watching the episodes on Cartoon Network, which had increased the playback speed so they could fit in more commercials than originally aired on the Scooby Doo series. And so they thought that Fred's voice actually was a slightly higher pitch by, I think, 1.03%. And Frank Welker was like, no, bitch, I'm Fred.
Gaslighting Fred himself because you listened to the wrong audio.
Could you imagine?
Oh my gosh.
embarrassing for them. Oh god,
Yeah.
embarrassing for Cartoon Network to be found out like that.
Well, yeah.
That's so fun. Frank Welker, you're a legend.
He really is. Marilee, I'm interested in what you have here in the notes.
Yeah, this was
Yeah,
a surprise
so
for me,
if-
Marilee.
Yeah, if you watch all the way through the end, there's a post-credit scene of Scooby where he finally makes friends with some of the cats. Like, he pours them some milk and they all hang out. And, like, it kind of resolves this potentially too long arc in the movie of, like, Scooby and the cats not getting along.
I was
and
excited when I saw Marilee's note, and then I watched it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, it's just, I hadn't ever noticed it before, because why would they,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, I left the movie running as I started to, like, get up and, like, get everything together, and then I saw this, I was like, oh dang, I had no idea there was a post-credits scene! How very pre-Avengers of them in the 1998.
Not gonna lie, I left it running because I was jamming too hard to the music playing in the credits.
Music's great.
Because they
music
just
so
they just
good.
replayed like all of the songs that they played in the movie. They were all bangers.
They are bangers.
They-
It's
only.
Two
Terror
songs
Time
and,
Again.
like,
I think is my
done.
favorite. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for joining us on this excursion to Zombie Island.
Thanks
Where
for
can
having
folks
me.
find you online?
Oh, they can't. I will not
Great.
talk to anybody.
Great.
That's
Excellent.
fair. Totally
Excellent.
fair.
Do not find
She's
me.
here. She's here, and then she disappears into the night.
Just
love
like
that.
a ghost.
Just like a ghost. Well, I hope that your soul is free from the torment you've been experiencing with us for this little while, but we really appreciate you being here with us.
It's
Yeah.
so
Yes,
fun.
abs-
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, and now your dream has at least partially been fulfilled.
Yeah.
Step one in your Scooby Doo podcasting adventure.
Yeah. Now,
Do you think that you've been bit by the podcasting bug?
I don't know. We'll have to see. I'll have to mellow out after the adrenaline wears off.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you all so much for listening to this episode. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to read about our exploits with both supernatural and capitalist monsters, you can follow us on social media. You can find us at Fear Coded Pod on Instagram and Blue Sky.
This podcast is, of course, a proud part of the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective. If you'd like to listen to more queer media podcasts, check out the full roster of shows at glitterjaw.com and join us next week as we continue Furry February. And if you liked the cats in this episode, let me just tell you, we're going to turn the dial of cats up to maximum as we watch the charitably defined B movie Strays. But until then, we will just say goodbye.
Goodbye.
And it's terror time again. They've got you running through the night. It's terror time again. And you just might die of fright. It's a terrifying time. You hear the beating of your heart, you know the scream is gonna start. Here comes the really scary part, and it's terror time again. They've got you running through the night. It's terror time again, and you just might die of fright. It's a terrifying time. All the trees begin to moan, and the monsters grunt and groan, rotting faces full of
You are so corny.
Don't you know it's terror time?